and operate them. We'll have a little operating box that one of us will manage the cameras as we're going.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. What time is it? 5:59.
It's appropriate to have one more.
Oh, you do? Okay. Very good. Oops. Okay, 6 o'clock. We'll call the meeting to order. Thank you for your attendance and participation. The purpose of the public hearing is to gather information from the public to help the commission formulate recommendations. In order to ensure a fair and orderly meeting where everyone can participate, the commission requests that you act respectfully to everyone in attendance and follow the public hearing procedures. The chairperson will call the public hearing item. The planning department will present the staff recommendation. Commissioners may ask questions of the staff, and we may have a presentation by the applicant and/or representatives. Commissioners may ask questions of the applicant. The chairperson will open the public hearing. The chairperson will call for public comments from persons in support of the items, followed by persons in opposition of the items. The applicant will have the chance for rebuttal comments. The chairperson will close the public hearing. Commissioners may ask questions, discussion, or take action. Speakers must speak from the podium and state their name and address for the record. The chairperson reserves the right to establish a time limit for all speakers to ensure that everyone can speak. The designation of a spokesperson for groups sharing a common point of view is encouraged. All comments and questions will be directed to the chair from the podium and not the applicant, staff, or audience. When the hearing is closed, additional public comments are not permitted. Okay, the agenda. We will do roll call.
Tyler Tembry,
Here.
Jeanette Johnson,
Present.
Chad Depperschmidt, Rosa Cavazos,
Here.
Ken Corbett,
Here.
Chad Gerhardt,
Here.
Josh Green, with 5 members present, there is a quorum.
Okay, thank you. Any communications by staff?
From public to staff in relationship to any of the items on the agenda today, no, we have not had any communications other than that which you have in front of you.
Okay, thank you. Any ex parte communications by members of the commission?
I was asked about the status of the motion that Mr. Corbett made at the last meeting.
Okay, it's not an agenda item today, so we will talk about that a little bit later on when that will occur.
Okay.
None others? Okay. Did you have anything?
Just to follow up on that, I thought the minutes kind of said it would be taken up at the next meeting.
Yes, and I have not had a chance to get all of that put together for proper presentation. We do have to publish notice in the paper to hold the public hearing, and I have a staff report that I'm working on to present to you so that we ensure that we have a proper record of what it is that we're doing. The concept being that we hope and wish to have a proper record and do so in a good methodical manner so that we don't set ourselves up for any sort of lawsuit in the future by either any sort of leaseholder, wind farm, solar farm, general public, whatever that may be. The purpose of that being that we want to make sure that we hear the ban and the moratorium on a proper method.
And one of my big concerns is those that were here and voted on that may not be here by the time we ever decide to bring that to the agenda. So how will those votes from the planning commission then ever get to maybe not ever pass out of this body then? You know what I'm saying? If we,
Let's talk about, I hear your concerns, but let's talk about this at the end of the agenda when we have other agenda items that we can talk about so that we can move forward with the people who are on the agenda and we can discuss that in full.
Okay. Any conflicts of interest by members of the commission or staff? Nothing? Okay. Okay, we'll move to election of officers and chairman being the first one.
I would recommend we elect Tyler again as the chairman.
I would second that if you need a second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second for Tyler for chair. Any other comments? Any other nominations?
You have a speech?
I left it in the car.
We'll have Jolie do a roll call for the vote on the chairman.
I was counting on a
Jeanette
speech.
Johnson,
Yes.
Chad Depperschmidt, Chad Gerhardt,
Yes.
Josh Green, Ken Corbett,
Yes?
Tyler Timbrey,
Yes.
Rosa Cavazos,
Aye.
with a unanimous vote.
Wow.
In favor.
Look at that.
Tyler Timbrey will be chair.
Okay, and vice chairman is the second item.
I make a, can we just get even? I'd like for you to be vice chair.
I'll second that.
I only have one more year, so.
Okay.
I've heard that before.
Okay, any other comments or any other nominations? Do we have a vote?
Ken Corbett,
Aye.
Josh Green, Rosa Cavazos,
Aye.
Tyler Timbrey,
Yes.
Chad Gerhardt,
Yes.
Jeanette Johnson,
I'll abstain.
Chad Depperschmidt, with the unanimous vote in favor, Jeanette Johnson will be vice chair.
Okay. We'll move down to item G, zoning and subdivision items. The first item is VA 23 sub/02 by Shawnee Heights Fire District, requesting to vacate Lot 1, Block A, Shawnee Heights Fire District subdivision located centrally on Southeast 61st Street between Southeast Ratner Road and Southeast Shawnee Heights Road in Mammoth Township.
Okay, so the first one here, we actually today have two vacations of subdivisions. The first is for the Shawnee Heights Fire District. This is not something that you see very often because it's not something that comes to you from the zoning regulations. It actually comes to you from a statute. And so I went ahead and copied those statutes here. As you know, as the Planning Commission, you do consider and hear plats. And so because you hear those plats, you also have the ability to vacate those plats. This statute allows an applicant to come to the county and ask to vacate a subdivision or a plat. They can file that with either the Board of County Commissioners directly or with the Planning Commission. We have done this both ways, where we have gone straight to the Board of County Commissioners, but in some circumstances, we feel like it's beneficial to come to the Planning Commission to consider the vacation. In this situation, we felt it beneficial that you hear it because you are going to, in the future, be hearing a conditional use permit for this same property, and so we thought it would be good for you to consider everything within this body first. When the Planning Commission hears it, you do it just the same as you do any other situation where you hear it and then you make a recommendation for approval or denial to the Board of County Commissioners. And then at our next time that we go to the Board of County Commissioners, they'll hear your recommendation just like they would in any other zoning case that we hear. We do publish notice of this in the paper, which we did. and then the application comes to you to make the recommendation. So this is what the plat originally looked like. It is skinny and long. It's located over off of Southeast 61st Street. The intent of this was that they were going to build a new fire station on the property. It was going to be located kind of underneath the area that says Block A, Lot 1. When they came to me, I talked to them about the fact that they had actually come in and done this plat many years ago. I think it was 18 years ago. And they had done a conditional use permit at that time for a fire station. And then they had not moved forward with actually building the fire station. So the conditional use permit expires. It's not good any longer. It only lasts for 24 months if you haven't moved forward with the action. So in talking with them as they were preparing to come back to do a new conditional use permit for a new fire station, I, taking some experience from other parcels around the county where fire departments have placed their fire stations, I inquired whether the width of the property was appropriate to getting fire trucks in and out and making sure that they had enough access to get those entrances and get the fire trucks in and out. And they agreed that they felt like it would be beneficial to have a wider parcel. However, the owner of the property at the time had not necessarily been conducive to selling additional land. So we discussed the northern part of that parcel that you can see that lies above the trees. It was really going to be quite useless to the fire station because there was a buffer there that was going to be harder to get back there, and so they weren't going to use it. So instead what they did was they went to the landowner and they made a proposal to do a land trade. So anything north of that buffer on the top end of this picture is going to go back to the farmer, and then the farmer instead is trading the land that's grayed in on the right side there so that they can widen the space for the fire station and give them additional entrance space and maneuverability on the parcel. They will be coming back to us for a conditional use permit at a later time, but they are still going through the process of getting this land solidified. They have to go go back to their board for funding, bonding, whatever it is that they have to do to actually move forward with building the fire station. And because of the time frame with our conditional use permit process that says after 24 months it expires, they wanted to make sure that they don't do it too early and then have to come back a third time to do a conditional use permit again. So this is what the plat looks like currently. This is the subdivision, and as you can see around the outskirts of the parcel, you see thatched lines. Those are utility easements. And then on the south side of the parcel, you can see a wider subset of road, and that's actually a road right-of-way that is dedicated as a part of a plat in case this road ever needs to be widened. It dedicates that to public use, and so if they do end up coming in and widening Southeast 61st Street, then the county or the township, whoever maintains that road, doesn't have to go through trying to obtain an easement to widen that road. And so as a part of the concerns that came about from this process, when we send out for review, Shawnee County Public Works did request that we reserve the right-of-way. No individual property owners were required to be notified. It's not the same as a public hearing for zoning where we have to send out letters 1,000 feet. We don't have to do that. We do send it out to all of the utilities to find out if there are any easements that are being used. As you can see, Cox Communications didn't have anything. Douglas County Rural Water District didn't. Free State Electric did not. Kansas Gas did not. Shawnee County Public Works did express concern about the right-of-way dedication, and so we assured them as a part of this process that we would make the recommendation that that be reserved, which through the statute is allowed to happen. You can reserve easements and public right-of-ways. Environmental Health did not have any response. So the staff concerns is the dedication of that 52.5 foot road right-of-way. State law allows for the previously dedicated rights-of-way and easements to be reserved in the presence of a vacated plat. applicant desires, so staff findings, we find that applicant desires to vacate the subdivision. The plat vacation is sought due to the change in parcel shape and size. So I should say that the reason why that this was platted to begin with is because if you have a parcel that's less than 3 acres and doesn't have at least 200 feet of frontage, we do require you to plat as a part of your development process. In this situation, the new parcel will put them over the 200 feet of frontage and over 3 acres, so it's no longer required. If they would not have gone forward with a plat vacation, they would have had to do a replat. And so they would have had to come back into you anyways and ask to modify the plat. And so since they had to do one or the other, the decision was that we don't require a plat in these cases, so it made sense that it was okay for the plat to be vacated.
When you look at this map,
Uh-huh.
is the extra property on the wheat field or over here?
To the right, on the right side.
Here.
Yep.
Okay.
So our recommendation is that the proposed plat vacation be approved with the 52.5-foot road right-of-way dedication being preserved. And as of that, I have no further commentary. I don't believe the applicant is here, but if we want to move on and see if there's, go ahead and see if there's anybody here in favor of or
Okay.
in opposition to, absolutely do that.
Okay. Those in favor are welcome to come up and speak. Those opposed? No. No applicant. I guess close public comment on this and commission thoughts? Anyone?
I've got a question.
Yeah.
So when they originally had this piece of property, was there any public notices put out then at all 18 years ago?
Yes, absolutely. When you do a plat, you have to go through a public hearing process, and so they would have done the public hearing process at the time that the plat and the conditional use permit was put into place.
And then when they completely change it, they don't have to tell they don't have to notify anybody.
Well, we did publish notice, yes, the same as what you do when you do the plat.
But like the person here in this house, and the people that live around this project, they have really no say in this matter.
They can have a say. If they would have contacted us about it, they can, but ultimately, we don't have a requirement for notification the same that you do as you're thinking like with our zoning requirements where we're required to send out letters to them.
But do
It's
they-
a little bit
But
different.
do they know what's happening?
I don't know the answer to that. We publish notice in the paper, and so whether or not they are aware specifically that the plat's being vacated.
But they were notified the last time.
You mean 18 years ago? Yeah.
18 years ago, they would have gone through the plat process where we publish notice. I do not know on our regulations, the plat regulations, whether we send notification to anybody via a letter.
But they're going to replat this after.
They are not going to replat this. It's going to remain an unplatted parcel. They will receive notice when we do a conditional use permit process. Right now, we're taking a piece of property that is vacant and not being used. All we're doing is taking the piece of paper that legally plats it and taking that away. It's not going to change the use or the function of the parcel. Right now, it's being used as farm ground, and it's going to continue to be used as farm ground until they move forward with the fire department, at which time they'll have to come in and get a conditional use permit, and we will have a full public hearing on that conditional use permit. And if it gets denied at that point, then the fire department will never be developed.
Okay. Other thoughts? Do I hear a motion?
I'll move to approve with the 52.5-foot road right-of-way dedication being preserved.
Thank you.
I would second.
Tyler Timbering,
Yes.
Chad Stephenson, Josh Green, Rosa Cavazos,
Yes.
Ben Corbett,
Yes.
Chad Gerhardt,
Yes.
Jeanette Johnson.
Yes?
With a unanimous vote in favor, the vacation is approved and will be heard by the county commission on April 11th.
Thank you, Jolie.
I have one more. This is kind of, we've already voted. But Joni, if they have this here, you know that there's enough water in the area to for what it needs to be. There's enough water coming through that area for rural water to take care of their needs.
Say that again?
So if this goes further, does the rural water
This one is the Shawnee Heights Fire District. The rural water one we'll hear coming up.
I know that, but if they eventually go down the road to build this, do we know that there's enough water
I don't
service
know.
for it?
I don't know, yeah.
I can answer that.
Good.
Because I provide for it. Yes.
Good job.
Okay, great.
There's a 6-inch main on the south side of the road, there's not on that north side, that's the reason we didn't have anything on, because I don't have a main on that north side. We got
Okay.
a 6-inch on the south side, and they've already checked into us, we're gonna provide them with a
Thank you.
fill line and also a residential meter for the living quarters part of it.
Sweet, that's sweet.
Okay, thank you. Next item is item number 2, Z95/19A by Douglas County Rural Water District Number 3, requesting to amend the district zoning classification from O and I1, Office and Institutional District, to RA1, Rural Agricultural District, on the property located at 7035 Southeast 69th Street in
Monmouth.
Monmouth Township. Thank you for that help.
I live there.
Okay,
Okay, so this item, similar with the Shawnee Heights Fire District, about the same time, Douglas County Rural Water District came to us and said, hey, we're gonna do an expansion of our facility. We have an office building here, and we're going to add on a large maintenance shop and break room, and we're gonna need to move over into some additional space. And as we started looking at the plans, what we realized was that this had been zoned previously for O&I. And then also, they also had a plat of a small parcel, and the expansion to the office building was gonna go outside of that platted parcel onto another parcel of ground. And so you're gonna hear 2 items here today in regards to the rural water district. The first one here is the rezoning, and it is a downzoning where we're going from O&I to RA. And then we'll hear the vacation after that next. So as you can see here is the vicinity map for the existing water tower. What you may not be able to see is right in that green box where the property number address is, there's actually a small office building there. The tower's shadow also kind of covers that up. So they have a small office building. To the east and south, where those white lines are, that's the remainder of their new parcel. So they started with the small parcel, they purchased additional parcel, and now they've got both of them, but they're 2 different parcels. This one did require us to send notice to everybody within 1,000 feet, and so here are all of the properties that were identified as that, and we sent letters to all of them, and we did not get comment back. This is showing you what will happen in the future once we go through the whole process that we're going through tonight. They have their existing office building and then the new maintenance shop and break room. There's proposed laterals, the existing laterals and septic tank, and then the water tower. Concerns when we did our internal and external review. There is copper cable that runs in the easement. Cox Communication had nothing. Free State has aerial power lines along Southeast 69th, and then a service line that provides service to the subject property. Environmental Health has no concerns. Public Works has no concerns with the zoning. And then the Shawnee Heights School District also had no issues with the request. Applicable zoning regulations. So history of this particular parcel. Current site was developed with the water tower in 1991, and they have a special use permit for that. A special use permit is very similar to what you guys now know as a conditional use permit. We just changed the wording of what that's called, and so now it's called a conditional use permit versus a special use. The plat that you will consider for the vacation was recorded in August of 1991, so very similar in time to when that special use permit went into play. After that, the property, the applicant, so Rural Water District, came to the Planning Commission and said, hey, we would like to put an office building on the property, but pursuant to regulations to have that office building, they had to rezone from RA to O&I. So that was done in 1995. O&I allows it's office and institutional, and so it allows you to have office, medical, government buildings, that kind of office space. They did that in case Z95-19, which is why this one is called Z95-19, because we are amending the original zoning case. So that was approved. I will be honest in saying when I read through that original case, the planning department was not specifically in favor of it being rezoned to O&I. They actually recommended it being disapproved because when you rezone to O&I, if the rural water district left, anybody who wanted to use that for an O&I purpose could come in and use it for that specific purpose. And everything surrounding it is RA, and it's quite a distance from town, and so it just doesn't make sense to have that parcel be zoned O&I. As we looked further at the zoning regulations, what we identified was that it would actually be a better fit to rezone it back to RA. Within RA, there is a conditional use permit, or in this case, special use permit, that allows you to have a public use facility, which is what this is. It's a water tower, it serves the public. As a part of that, not only do you have the public use facility, but it allows a public facility that operates a transmission or distribution, that, like a water tower that distributes water, to have an office building or maintenance shop that's associated with that facility. So because they have the water tower there, they can have a office and maintenance shop building as a part of that whole conditional use, special use permit without doing anything more. So in theory, when we were looking at it, it just made much more sense to downgrade it back to RA so that it matched with all of the surrounding parcels. And I will go back to look at the map real quick, because what I want to identify here is the fact that when they make this transition here to expand to the right with that maintenance building, what's actually zoned O&I is just what's in blue, the water tower, the office, and their existing septic tank. When they move and expand to the east, that is zoned RA. So either we had to rezone it as all O&I, or we had to downzone the small portion to RA. So again, we had to do something, whether it be one way or the other, and we felt it was more suitable for it to all be RA versus to upgrade all of it to O&I, which would allow for an expanded use if they were to ever sell off and move their facilities elsewhere. We have no staff concerns about this. Findings: property was developed back in 1991 and then in 1995. It does meet with the character of the neighborhood and surrounding properties to maintain it as agricultural. There is some single-family residential presence, mostly associated with farms in the area. This use is not inconsistent with the comprehensive plan, and obviously there is utility services already being provided to the subject parcel. It meets with the desire to have public health and safety, having a water tower that functions for the surrounding community. This request does provide a more simple, less invasive land use, which is attractive as a planning department to have it be less invasive. No increase in traffic is anticipated. We recommend approval of this with the following: that the commission finds that the request satisfies the golden factors and recommends approval of the rezoning request from O&I 1 to RA 1 with no conditions. And the applicant is here today if,
Thank you.
yeah.
Okay. Would the applicant like to come up to speak?
Here to answer any questions you might have.
I got a question, Howard.
Yeah, Ken.
So I live out in the Auburn area.
Okay.
And as the area grew, they had to build a bigger, much bigger water tower. And they left their offices down in the town of Auburn, which I think they'll probably move up there eventually. Do people pay their bills at this site, or they have another site for you to pay water bills?
So that they can pay their bills at this site. We also do online payments and other things, but as far as making their payments in person, yes, there's somebody that's here Monday through Friday.
And if you had, the way your area is growing out there, do you have enough property now, if you had to increase your water capacity to make you a bigger unit, if you had to?
We feel like where we're at now, yes. Originally, like she told you, I think we had 0.93 when they did that tower and stuff. And when the neighbor next to us and around us decided to split that up and came to us and said, hey, I'm going to split this up and sell it, would you guys be interested? We purchased more from him. I think we're just under 5.5 acres total now.
And my last question, do you buy water from the city?
We do not.
Okay,
We have 2 water treatment facilities of our own. We do not buy any from the city.
you're in good shape.
Any other questions? Okay. Do you have any comments for us? Anything in addition to what Tony said?
Just what she said, that, you know, that this seemed like the best way for us to move forward. Unfortunately, we didn't realize what we had till I went to get the building permit last fall, and we had everything planned out and had contractors scheduled to start on things. I figured it was going to be no problem to get a building permit, and found out that was going to be a little bit different story when we found out it was done. I mean, I understand why they did it the way they did it, because we had less than 3 acres. We had less than 200 foot of frontage and everything. I understand why they did it. It's just making it fit now for what we want to do with it today.
Okay, very good.
Right.
Well, thank you for coming up.
Thank you.
We'll open the public hearing. Anyone that would like to come up and speak in favor of the project? Okay. Anyone opposed? Okay, well, we'll close the public hearing. Any other questions from staff or from our group? No? Okay. Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion that item number 2 be passed out favorably.
Okay. Second?
I'll second.
Okay.
Tyler Timbrink,
Yes.
Josh Green, Chad Gerhardt,
Yes.
Jeanette Johnson,
Yes.
Rosa Cavazos,
Aye.
Ken Burdick,
Yes,
Chad Eversnick, with unanimous vote in favor. The rezoning is approved and will be heard by the county commission on April 11th.
Thank you, Jolene. All right, with that, we'll move on to our third item, VA 24 /01 by Douglas County Rural Water District Number 3, again, requesting to vacate Lot 1, Block 1, Rural Water Tower Subdivision located at 7035 Southeast 69th Street. Sounds like the same area. Okay.
Same parcel.
Okay.
Yeah. So I will notate also, just as a in-between with these two cases, that as I mentioned, they have a special use permit. And so they will not be coming in front of you for a conditional use permit, since they already have the special use permit. We do have a process through our regulations that allow us to do minor amendments to that without coming in front of you. And so any of the things that they need to have really the only thing that had to be done in terms of a minor amendment was to modify the site plan. And so you will not be seeing that. That just gets done internally at our office.
Okay.
Okay, so item 3, vacation of the subdivision for rural water districts. I'm not gonna go into great detail with all of this, since we've already heard that already with the prior vacation. Same statutes apply. Here again is the parcel that identifies the area that is currently platted. Here is the plat. At the top of this one shows the road right-of-way. This one did not have any easements associated with the plat, so we don't have to vacate any easements. I believe that there is one wire that runs through the road right-of-way, but that, I believe, maybe that was the other one. But with the road right-of-way being dedicated, that will not be an issue. AT&T, yes, AT&T has a buried copper cable that runs through the road right-of-way. So instead of having a separate easement, they utilize the road right-of-way to run that buried copper cable. So in us asking to reserve that road right-of-way, it will also protect the utility easement there. Cox Communications had no comment. Douglas County Rural Water District had no comment. Free State did not as well. All they stated on the prior zoning case was that they had aerial electric lines through there and then a service pole that serves the subject property. Kansas Gas has no facilities. Shawnee County Public Works Department, again, expressed concern with vacating that road right-of-way. They did not want to vacate it because in this situation, it would have vacated it actually to the center line of Southeast 69th, and we absolutely do not want that to happen because 69th is an important street for those of us that traverse it. And so we need to make sure and dedicate that road right-of-way and keep that reserved. Shawnee County Environmental Health had no comments. So we had no concerns other than the road right-of-way. Staff findings, and our recommendation that it be approved with the condition that the 40-foot road right-of-way be preserved.
Very good. Thank you. Same applicant? Would you come up again, please? Ken had a question.
And I missed that the first time. My name's Shad Halbert. I am the general manager for the Water District.
Thank you.
So Chad, when you first decided you wanted to do something, what month was it, what year?
We started looking at this beginning of last year, I believe, is when we first originally started looking at what we wanted to do and what size of a building and how we were going to do everything. And then month by month after that.
So, when do you think you'll have, if everything goes through, when do you think you'll have everything done for that neck of the woods out there, if the project's approved by the county commission?
Once I get a building permit, hopefully, we're hoping we can have the building, the concrete done and the building up by late summer, early fall in that way. We're going to be about a year behind, but that's okay.
Right.
That's okay. It's just basically what's happened to the water district. I don't know, to give you guys a little bit more background. Yes, it says Douglas County Rural Water, but we cover Douglas County and Shawnee County both, and I actually have more customers in Shawnee County, but I have more area in Douglas County. We think the reason it was originally called that is because the general manager's home was in Douglas County when they started the district. So we think that's why they called it that. We don't know. But our office obviously is in Shawnee County. And we started doing all of our own repair work. It's been about 5 years ago now. So to go along with that, we've had to buy more equipment, more trucks. We've got more trailers. And also at that time, most contractors stopped carrying pipe and repair stuff. They wouldn't carry an inventory. So we had to start doing that ourselves. And so this will give us the ability to centrally locate in our district all of those facilities make it easiest to get to anybody for repairs and get back with, repair pieces and stuff like that.
So, are you into the project where you're thinking about electronic monitoring, where your meters are just kind of beamed to however that works? They've got that over where I'm at, and it kind of drives you crazy, but.
We actually just put in radio read meters, if you're talking for the residential meters. We just finished that project. They're not like your more expensive utilities have, where it's automatically goes to data collectors and goes to the offices. We actually have to have someone drive about 10 miles an hour around the district. It takes somebody a couple days to read Shawnee County and a couple days to read Douglas County, but they actually drive by with antennas on the trucks, and it downloads to a tablet right in the truck. And so a lot more accurate, gives us data collection off of them, holds a history on the meters, and they're more accurate.
Yeah, good deal.
So,
Okay. Other questions from the commission? No. Thank you.
you bet. Thank you.
Okay. For the public hearing, anyone that would like to come up and speak in favor of the project? Anyone opposed? No. Okay. we'll close the public hearing. Any other comments from the commission? Otherwise, we can hear a motion.
I make a motion that item number 3 be passed out as approved.
Thank you, Ken.
I would second.
Okay, thank you.
Josh Green, Rosa Cavazos,
Aye.
Tyler Timbrey,
Yes.
Jeanette Johnson,
Yes.
Chad Gerhardt,
Yes.
Tim Corbett,
Yes.
Chad Dickerson. With unanimous vote in favor, the item is approved and will be heard by the county commission on April 11th.
Thank you, Julie. Okay, the next item is item H, public comment on non-agenda planning and zoning items.
If anybody's, I don't know, is there anybody here for want to have public comment?
Nope. Okay. Ken had a point of order for the next item, discussion of planning-related issues. What did you have in mind?
Well, what I'm thinking of, back in, was it December or November, I can't remember when it was, we had a discussion on wind and solar, and the commission passed out and voted favorably for a no wind in Shawnee County, and a year moratorium on solar, with the understanding, I thought, that at the next meeting we would try to progress that to the county commissioners. And it's kind of a big deal, and I'm hoping that politics don't take this off the table, but like I said earlier, it concerns me that the people who were here at that time voted on it missed almost three meetings to put the football across the line. So I don't know where the planning, I don't know where you're at on this now or what your plans are, but I'd like to know.
So the concept that there are people in December that are no longer here, the people who are no longer here, their appointments expired at the end of December. So frankly, they probably wouldn't have been here in January had we heard it in January, and definitely not in February or March. So part of that plays into how we are moving forward. In December, when we heard that, we were well aware that it wasn't going to happen in January because there just wasn't enough time to put it all together. And then we didn't have a meeting in February, so it wasn't done in February. The hope was that we would potentially do that here in March. However, timing-wise, in our own office, I haven't had the opportunity to get it all together. Now, what I want you to understand is you are not going to just make a verbal motion and a second and then vote on something. I am going to be presenting this to you with a full-blown staff report, just like we do any other zoning amendment or zoning regulation consideration, because this is a statutory procedure that you guys are considering. It's not just something that we have to take lightly, because this is a modification to our zoning regulations, because currently we don't have a specific regulation that deals with either wind or solar. They just fall under our general zoning regulations. So what you're doing is you are making a modification to our zoning regulations. So that means I prepare a full staff report. I put in that staff report, just like we do for every public hearing, all of the things that we've heard, the various speakers, all of the concerns that have been addressed in terms of infrastructure, taxes. We look at everything that we consider with the golden factors. So are they going to be a nuisance in terms of sight lines, in terms of noise? Are there health concerns? Are we worried about the trucks driving on our roads and our infrastructure? So I'm going to lay out every reason, because so what you've done so far is you've asked me to say, hey, we want to move forward with this as a ban. So my full staff report is going to be put together to give every reason why Shawnee County should ban wind first. Let's just deal with that one first. So you will consider every reason why Shawnee County should ban wind. I'm not going to come in with a staff report that tries to contradict that. I'm not gonna come in with a staff report that says, here are the reasons why we should instead consider having wind. The proposal is for a ban. And so when I bring that staff report to you, I want to ensure that we have documented everything that you guys have heard over the last few months from the speakers, from various departments, from research that I've done, that the office has done, things that you guys have brought to our attention, public comment. We'll consider all of that at one time. I will, address you with that staff report. We will open it up for a public hearing where we have people in favor of a ban, people in opposition of a ban, and can have comments, questions, concerns, and then you guys will make your motion and your vote for a recommendation on banning. Okay, so right now, the consideration is not in favor of wind. The consideration is for a ban. That's what we're hearing. And then the second part of that would be for the moratorium. I want to ensure that we present this the best, because as you know, you guys have considered a moratorium before and it didn't make it forward. So we want to ensure that we have a full plate of why it is that we think that the moratorium is appropriate for Shawnee County. And so from the December meeting until now, I've actually had a great deal of contact with Harvey County, Sedgwick County. I've done work with various people to try and figure out why it is that we want a moratorium. Why is that a benefit to us? Why is it that they institute a moratorium, or what process did they go through? What documents did they use? All in all, we are trying to do this in a very methodical manner so that when we make a vote, that we have the best information out there and we can ensure that it doesn't appear as though it was rushed, that it was unprepared, that it was unresearched, because while you may be in favor of a ban, there may be other people who are not, and we don't want to set ourselves up for a bunch of controversy.
I mean, other counties have done the same thing. The reason I thought the moratorium would be good a year on solar was so that this planning commission could talk it up, talk it over, see what would fit, see what's better in a 3 mile circle, commercial, private, or residential. That gives us a year to kind of get our act together, so we're not having softballs thrown at us all from not knowing about anybody. I think what that would do, that would not only help our residents in this county, but it would also let the people who are in the game to sell solar, if they know the guidelines, they'll know where they're at. So,
Absolutely.
And I just, that's just what it is. I didn't think it was no harm, no foul, just kind of giving us a little breathing time so we don't make a bad decision. So that was all I had to say.
Yes, I agree. And we will, that is exactly the presentation that will be made, and you'll make a vote again for a recommendation. And then at that point, once it goes to the Board of County Commission, if it gets approved there, then that would give you a full year from when the Board of County Commission is approved to consider the regulations. It gives me time, because it's gonna take us time to build these. We wanna ensure that what you guys decide to do with either wind or solar isn't rushed, that it's a well thought out plan, so that we know, so that it gives you breathing room, so that if a proposal comes in front of you, that you know what it is to look at and what your guidelines are.
And to follow up, I agree with everything, but I want to make sure that the residents of this county kind of have a little breathing room so they know what your thoughts are. And, but that's just what it is. So you'll give us enough time to chew on something, right?
Absolutely. And you guys have the ability to request a year, and then if towards the end of that, if we still don't feel like we have what we need, then my recommendation would be that you then ask for an extension to do another 6 months, another year, whatever it is. Or, in the alternative, if we get through it quickly, we can end the moratorium at the point that we approve those regulations. Yeah. And so we don't have anything scheduled for April, so we will get notice of the public hearing for the wind and solar will have to go out beginning to mid-April. So published notice will go out for that public hearing. We also have a list of, I believe, 900 people responded to the survey, and I would say 75% of that may have given us email addresses. So we're gonna send out an email to everybody on that list. We will try and have media spots. I will do notifications at the Board of County Commission meetings. So I don't know what kind of public feedback. We may have to discuss not having the meeting here. We may have to hold it at a bigger venue. So those are all things that we're gonna have to plan for a little bit, but the plan would be to have that accomplished for your May meeting.
And for the newbies here, would you want to invite some of the speakers back to let them do their thing again?
No, I've actually met with both Rosa and Chad, and I sent them, so if, recall, the meetings were live streamed.
Yep.
Any of the documentation that you've received, they've seen all of the links and have been able to go back and watch all of the meetings, any of the PowerPoints, and anything that was presented, they actually have had access to, so that they were well, informed. And that was also part of a concern about doing it today, is that you had 2 new members who had not heard any of that, and we wanted to ensure that they get the same information that each of you has had.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else from the commission? Okay. I'll hear a motion to adjourn. Oh.
You have a hand?
Can I make a comment real quick? Procedure.
Yeah, real quick.
I didn't hear that she had, that Joan.
You should please step up so that we make sure that you
Sorry.
get recorded with the live stream.
It's tough being president.
Hi, my name's Jan
Sure.
Davis. I just wanted to share that in Osage County, that we had the moratorium to make sure that we didn't have new applications come in when we had no regulations for them. And that's my concern, is that there will be applications come in and you don't have regulations for it. So I don't know, as we did in Osage County, declared a moratorium to stop. We're not accepting applications until we know how we're advancing, instead of leaving it open and unprotected.
I think
Those-
that's our intent, isn't it?
That's exactly
Yeah.
what's gonna be happening, is they're moving forward to consider a moratorium on solar. On wind, they've proposed that we do a ban on wind.
Thank
And
you.
so, as of right now, the deadline for the April meeting has passed, so we cannot have an April meeting. The May meeting, the deadline is in a couple of weeks, but we would be considering a moratorium at that meeting. And so if anybody came in with an application for a solar farm to be considered at the May meeting, we would let them know that we're in the process of putting a moratorium into place. But I want to be clear that we have regulations that deal with this. We are not an unregulated county. If someone came in for anything on wind or solar, the regulations we have in place can handle those, and we would do it under a conditional use permit. So it's not that we don't have regulations, it's just not clearly delineated on what it is for each little setback or pilot payment, that kind of thing.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
In a second, okay. Adjourn.
That's the most important motion.
That is.
Everyone in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Yep, that's the most important
So May could be a big meeting.